Hello and welcome to the very special last episode of season 6. Here we are, episode 12. And I just want to thank you all for continuing on this journey with me and learning this podcast thing with me and going through the iterations that I've gone through over the years. And I used to do the show weekly, as many of you know, and then I went off to do this show on a monthly basis, just so I can give it more time, more intention with what I want to talk to you about every month and bring real world situations to you from here and around the Mile High City. So thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Ricky Schoonover. I'm with 8Z Real Estate. Most of you already know that. If you don't subscribe to the Denver's monthly real estate podcast, the Denver Homes Market Report, it's on all platforms you can possibly think of: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you go to get your podcast, tune in, iHeartRadio. Whichever one you choose your podcast to, go there for your favorite platform. If you're not finding it on a platform that you normally use, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'm happy to go through and the process and get our podcast wherever it needs to go to greet where you are. But today is a very special event for me today. A very special episode of the final episode of season 6. Here we are, like I said, episode 12. And the reason I really thought this one through. I was really trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to bring to my listeners for this last show of my 6th season that really brings impact? And so I want to start with a story here. I do have a success story here with a property that's pending. It's not sold yet, so I don't want to jinx it. Let's knock on wood. But I do want to talk about this story and where we're at in this journey and how we got here. So, a lot of times you'll see snarky remarks on social media like, oh, realtors, they get overpaid, or all they do is put a sign in the front yard or whatever. And so I always sneer at those a little bit, but I try not to get too back and forth on social media about it, because if you have those preconceived notions, I'm sorry, you've probably hired the wrong realtor or had the wrong experiences with realtors. But I wanted to give you a little bit of information about this particular success story, because it is a success story, and it's something that is worth sharing with you, especially if you're out there thinking about selling your home and you're looking for a realtor and you're like, okay, what do they do differently? So let's start here at 715 Galapago Street. The story of this loft really starts in 1886 is when this building was built. And it was actually 3 separate buildings at one point. It's been a grocery store. It's been a machine shop, all different iterations. And now it is a classic live-work loft. Upstairs, I am right now in the lounge area where I sat with the owners of the property after our initial conversation about possibly selling their home. And that was over the phone. And then they invited me to their home to come take a look. And I had not been in the home prior. So this is where we started. We started right here in this lounge on this sofa that I'm sitting on right now and around this little coffee table that I'm sitting at right now. And that's where our first conversation started, where we were talking about maybe selling the loft, and they were talking about their plans and everything else with that. But that is not even where the story begins. I moved into Denver about a decade ago, a little shy of a decade ago, and specifically here in La Alma, Lincoln Park, or the Arts District on Santa Fe, which is a lot of people know it as, about 6 years ago now. So we've been living here for about 6 years, a decade total in Denver and about 6 years here in La Alma, Lincoln Park. And one of the things I did when I moved here, and one of the things that drew us into the neighborhood, was my husband and I, we really enjoy collecting art. We go around to auctions and we collect art. We go on cruise ships and collect art. We go all around and collect different artwork. And so we have a nice little collection of artwork. And so it came to me as an idea of, as much as we love this area, to maybe go out and reach out into the community. They have a nonprofit. It's called the Arts District on Santa Fe. So I reached out to Anna Paula over there and said, hey, I don't have a lot of money, but I got some time. How can I help? And she's like, well, we're always in need of both money and time. So however you can help us will be great. So I started with some financial support for the organization, and that was going great. And I gave them a sponsorship, and they put me on their website and all things like that. And that was great. But I wanted to do more. So I reached out to Anna Paula again, and I was like, Anna Paula, what else can I do? And she goes, well, if you can volunteer some time, we need some help on our board. And I was like, okay, great. So then I did that. So I joined the board, and I served on the board for 3 years. And during that process, you meet some of the community members. And a couple of those community members that I had met were the owners of this particular property early on. And just in passing, they were the kind of the pillars of the community with the La Alma Lincoln Park Neighborhood Association, which is a little bit different and different focus, more community-based or community-wide focus, I should say, whereas the ADSF, or Arts District on Santa Fe, really is art-centric and really focuses on promoting and elevating the voices of the artists and the galleries along Santa Fe Drive here. So, but we had community events, we shared community events, we had events where we'd all come together, whether it was ADSF or it was the Lama Lincoln Park Neighborhood Association or the Business Improvement District, another association that's in part of the area here. So we'd all come together for various events over the years, but we didn't have a real personal connection between these sellers and myself. I knew their names, I knew who they were and that kind of thing, and we always exchanged pleasantries, but I didn't know them on a personal level. So my husband and I, we had this great idea. We're like, we have this great art collection. We live here in the Arts District. Let's start opening up our home to the community. So we started these events last year where we would invite some, real estate clients and some past clients. I don't want to ever say past clients because they're always my clients, right? But currently in transaction clients and clients that I have transacted with in the past. And then maybe some clients that are future that I hadn't transacted with, but what we knew. And so we'd invite them and we'd invite community members, we'd invite gallery owners, and we'd have a party at our house. And we'd put out some food and some wine and some drinks and some music, and we'd put up a curated art collection of different artists, and then we'd invite the community and we'd have these parties. And the owners of this particular property came to a couple of those events, and it was after that is when they reached out to me and said, "Hey, Ricky, we're thinking about these plans, and we're thinking about selling our property here at 715 Galapago. Can you come over and take a look at it? You live in a very unique home. You have an eye for art and an eye for detail. We see that. We share the same love with art and detail, and we have a unique home, and you have a unique home, so maybe all this kind of fits together." So I came over and visited with them right here. We sat down. We walked around the live work loft. On the first floor is all kind of the work part of it, right? There's a workshop down there. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And there's a photography studio and offices downstairs. And then upstairs, up here in this area, is where the residence area is. So it's a classic live work loft. And we sat here and we talked about it. And I went through my plan and my process and what I do. And there was a few things that came up, with this being a historic building. Have you had a radon test done yet? So we talked about radon a little bit. Have you had a structural engineer come out recently? And they're like, no. So we talked about the structural engineer and how that might help. We talked about an ILC where they come out and measure the property lines. There's a lot of things that we can do to kind of preempt, especially on a historic building, preempt maybe buyers' concerns, especially if a structural engineer report or an ILC, any of those sort of questions that come up, you want to kind of get ahead of those. And not after they've put their contract in, where then we're kind of struggling to get all the answers for them. So we really thought this through. And, we had fall weather. It was in September of last year, and we had beautiful fall weather. And I brought up to him, hey, we have beautiful fall weather. Why don't we do our photos now? Because we don't know what the weather's going to be like. Now, this year in Denver, if you're here in Denver, you know that the weather has been amazing, and we haven't really had a winter, which is a little scary on some parts. It's nice that you go outside and you don't have to be in full jackets right now. But at the same time, we know that from an ecological standpoint, we need the snow and the snowpack, especially up in the mountains, to kind of stave off any fire dangers. So we do have a little bit to work with in that case. But here nor there, we went ahead and did our photos. We also did a drone shot because we have the Broncos Stadium, which is several blocks. Well, it's a couple miles now, but it's going to be moved to a couple of blocks from this particular location. So we wanted to do a drone shot where we can talk about where the stadium was going to be in comparison to where this live work loft is at. So we did that. We did floor plans. We had the photographer go around with his app and go through and do a floor plan. So we had floor plans. We had floor plans. We had an ILC for the survey. We had the structural engineer report. And then I went through and I put it all together in this little binder here. So I had it here on the table for any potential buyers. They can thumb through it. They can see that we had done the O&E. They see we've done the ILC. They can see that we've done the structural engineer report. I wrote a little story in here from the perspective of the building and what this building has gone through over the years. I also wrote another story of decade by decade of what the neighborhood was going through over the last, since 1886 till present day. So all those things were intentional for this particular property to get it to market. And those were all done early on. Then, since I do serve on the board, or I just recently relinquished my board position there, but I reached out to the board and said, hey, we do a monthly member meeting. Why don't we go to 715 Galapago Street, and why don't we do our member meeting there? So with the gallery owners and the artists, we all gathered here at 715 Galapago to do their monthly meeting, where I was able to kind of pitch to them, hey, here's a little bit of food, and here's some drinks, and by the way, I'm Ricky Schoonover. I'm with 8Z Real Estate, and I will be representing my clients in the sale of this property, which is going to be coming very soon in the beginning part of February. So I was able to pitch that back in January. Another thing I did is I also invited all of my agents. We have 185 agents at 8Z Real Estate. So I went out to them and said, hey, I've got a really special property that's coming to market. I would love for you guys to all come out and take a look at it and give me your ideas and give me your thoughts about it. So they all came out, and I had all these professional thoughts and ideas that I was then able to go back to my clients with and talk to my clients about. We had several walkthroughs of the property where we talked about like certain items that we should leave for staging, certain things that we should take away, certain repairs that should be done. All these sort of things well before we went to market. And then we sort of started strategically getting ready to launch our website. So then we pulled up those marketing materials, those photos that we did, the drone shots that we did months and months ago, brought those all to the forefront. We did, we hand walked the neighborhood. We walked the neighborhood and passed out flyers. First of all, I passed out flyers letting the members along Santa Fe know that, hey, in January, come for your member meeting. It's going to be at 715 Galapago, because they usually move around to different galleries or different spaces. And so I wanted to make sure everyone knew. And so that was part of that intention. One of those flyers got dropped off at Technique's Hair Shop, which is a men's hair shop over here on Santa Fe Drive. Jeremy is the gentleman that owns it. He and I have a rapport. He cuts my hair. So I gave him a flyer. Well, he took it upon himself to go get a little plastic hanger, put it on his wall, and then put my flyer right there in the wall. So we're going to get back to why that's funny or why that's important in a minute here. But anyway, so we had the member meeting. We went to launch. We put it in as coming soon so we could start gauging the market and see how the market was going to respond. We had a great response. Then we went live a week later on a Thursday. But we didn't have any showings Thursday, Friday, all the way into Saturday at 11 a.m. And that was intentional. That was a part of the plan, was to orchestrate that to a point where we build in a little bit of interest in the property. So that way when we opened the open house, we had a robust open house. We had quite a few people here on Saturday. We had even more people come back on Sunday. So we had a great open house. And by Monday, we had 2 offers to consider. And my clients pondered both offers, looked at both offers, took the positives and negatives of each offer. Each were structured well. There was nothing glaring wrong with either offer. It's just one offer was clearly better, and we went with that offer. And now we are pending sale, and we're in the process right now of the buyer is in the process of doing their due diligence and inspecting the property and doing everything that they need to do to make themselves comfortable moving forward with this particular sale. So that's where we're at right now in the process. But I just wanted to jump on here, wanted to give you my final podcast for the season number 6 here, the 12th episode, and kind of go over with you a little bit about my process and a little bit about the intention. You know, it started with all the way 6 years ago with moving into the neighborhood and then getting connected with the neighborhood and then volunteering my time and energy and support with the Arts District on Santa Fe and then running across various community members. And then even from that point, you know, building that trust and then having the events at my house where we invite the community into our home. All those things are intentional. There's nothing salesy, nothing, transactional about it. It's just a matter of uplifting the community and bringing everyone together and let everybody network and get to know each other. And so, then going into listing the property and everything led up to it. I often go out in the summertime and start letting people know that, hey, if you didn't sell your home this last spring or you weren't thinking about selling this last spring, but you think that's going to be coming in the following spring, let's get together now in August and September. Let's get your photos done. So that way we have the photos done. And then we can work on timing and cleaning things up and fixing the house up and what we're going to do for staging, whether that's going to be a professional staging or if we're going to use furniture, however that's going to be. We have plenty of time and everything can be done in an orchestrated way and with purpose. So that way when we launch your particular listing for sale, it's not rushed. And we've already got all the answers, or at least all the answers that we could foresee. We've already got those ready for any potential buyers, that they're not, as soon as they put their offer in, they're not feeling like, oh my God, what about the ILC? Oh my gosh, what about the structural stuff? What about this? What about that? They have a lot of what ifs right after they put that offer. It's almost like a little buyer's remorse where now they need all these answers, right? We were ready. We had all that ready. There was no question. It was just, okay, here's your ILC. Okay, here's the structural engineer. Move along. You're welcome to do your inspections. And the sewer line was replaced at this time. The roof was replaced at this time. So we had all those answers for the buyer. So they just felt at ease, right? So that's part of what I do, is going through a process, starting from your initial consultation, whether it's with a buyer or a seller. If I'm meeting with sellers, we generally have our first consultation in their home because I want to see what the home looks like. I may not know the value at that point. I probably shouldn't know the value at that point because I haven't seen the inside. But that's really where my consultations with my seller start, is in their home, so I can walk around the home and get a feel for what I'm looking at. Then when I go back to the MLS and I start looking at comps, I can really look at comps, and I'm not just giving them a Zestimate, right? Where the Zestimate just looks at, okay, this is a 3-bedroom house and that's a 3-bedroom house. They must be worth the same. And they're not even the same house. They're not even comparable. So your Zestimate says one thing and the house is worth something completely different. But by me coming over, meeting with the clients, finding what their intentions are, finding out what their follow-on plans are, and walking the home, I learned very much about the home, right? How it's been upkept. When was the last time the sewer line was serviced? How's the HVAC system look? How's the cooling? How's the heating? All those sort of things we can talk about. Then when I'm going back and looking at comps, I can get you a really good value of what I think the home would be worth. So that's why I start with that initial consultation. I don't come prepared with how much the home is going to be worth, because I've never seen the home. So in most cases. And then with my buyers, same sort of intentionality, but we meet at my office and we go through the entire process, from finding the home to, how the offer works, several things that can come up during the offer or during the inspections. We talk about all those because I want you to know up front before we put that offer in, right? Same sort of scenario, same sort of process. I want all those answers, all those questions answered, and all those maybe this and what if that and what if that. I want to get as many of those answered as I can in our initial consultation, so that way you can then be pointed in the right direction. You can go get linked up with a local lender. You can get your pre-approval. That's the next step after you've met with me. So we do that. And then from there, I can start emailing you and showing you some different homes based off of all of our conversations, where we go through and we do what's called a white paper, right? We sit there with a blank piece of paper. I hand one to each one of my buyers if there's two, or my buyer if there's one. I grab a piece of paper and we start talking about needs and wants. What do you want? What do you need, and why? And we go through all those questions. And sometimes if I have two buyers, like a couple, sometimes they have different priorities and different reasons, and we can kind of hash some of those out at that initial consultation. So then they have food for thought, right? They can go back to their dinner table that night and they can start talking about, okay, what do we really want? And they can sort of come to a meeting of minds, so that our next meeting, which sometimes is out looking at homes, sometimes they're motivated, they went and got their pre-approval and they're ready to go look at home. So our next meeting sometimes is in my car or them meeting me at a property to go take a look at it. But it's all done with intention. So whether you're looking to sell your property or you're looking to purchase a property, give me a call, 720-688-5110. You can also go to my website, denverhomesmarket.com. The same as the podcast, right? Denver Homes Market Report. So the Denver Homes Market Report is a monthly real estate podcast. I come on here. I'm going over a little bit late today, but it is our last episode of the 6th season. So I'm going to go just a little bit longer here today. But I want to go out and show you one more thing, because it's going to relate later on, or when we talk about the photos. Edit in the photo that we took back in September, but I'm also going to go back and show you from the upper deck of the home here what the backyard looks like, what the foliage looks like. Then I want to take you down to the workshop and show you where we did the member meeting for the artists and the gallery owners here for the community ADSF meeting. And then I want to talk a little bit about Techniques Hair Shop. So let's go on over here, and I'm going to turn this around. In the process, we can kind of look at the loft here. It's a beautiful residence. We have a primary bedroom back in that area there. We've got a library over here. There's a guest bedroom and a guest bathroom. We got our dining room here, our kitchen, and then an informal dining. And then right back over here is the upper deck that goes off the back, faces out to the west. So let's go back here for a second. A little bit windy day today, but let's step out here. And I want to show you just a little bit about, I'm going to cut in the photo so you can see the photo we took in September. You can see downtown Denver right in that area. And then you can see the trees here, a little bit of mountains up in there. It's actually about more like that in a live view. And then you have the trees there, and then overlooking the courtyard. So take a look at the couple of pictures I have, and then take a look at what it looks like now. And you'll see why maybe it would behoove somebody to go ahead and do their photography in September, even if they're not going to be listing their property until the spring of the following year. All right. So we talked about that a little bit. Now I want to go down and show you the workshop. I think that'll be fun. So let's turn this around again, and we'll walk out this way and go downstairs here. See if I can not fall down the stairs as I'm going down. And once again, I'll show you this beautiful staircase. It's custom built. I also should show you some of the wrought iron pieces here. Those came from the Spear Boulevard overpass when they were doing a renovation there. And then it's got this beautiful custom built steel staircase that goes up to the residence. And then this down here is the live or the work part of the live work loft. And you've got a photography studio, you've got an office, and then a workshop where the current owners do public art installations. And here's where they build their models. So there's a model there of that. And so we had all the members of the ADSF in here. We set up some chairs, we put out some food and some drinks, and we invited them all here. And so that's where they did their meeting. Now I'm going to turn this back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Ricky Schoonover with 8Z Real Estate. We're going to wrap up this podcast, but I want to give you one more final thing. And this is pretty funny. You know, I told you earlier that I took and walked around flyers, letting people know that the house was coming for sale. I get my haircut at Techniques Hair Shop. Jeremy's the owner over there. And I took him one of the flyers, and he actually went and got a plastic cover, mounted it to his wall, and then put my flyer in there. And what's really funny about that is, as I was talking to the potential buyers, because they were at my open house, I was talking to them about the community and where they live now and that kind of thing. It's sort of small talk that you do at open houses. And turns out they live currently just a few miles south of here. And the husband of the couple actually gets his haircut at Techniques. Now, I don't know if he saw his flyer there, if he saw the flyer there, or if he saw the the listing online, but I still thought that was pretty cool. I went and told Jeremy I'm going to buy him and his crew a little party for taking the effort of putting the sign up and everything else. But anyways, going to close out today. I know we're a little over. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the last episode of season 6. So we are at episode 12. We will be starting a new season 7 next month. So tune in for that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a subscribe button there or there. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, please give me a call, 720-688-5110. Give me a call there, or go to my website, denverhomesmarket.com, and we'll get started from there. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll catch up to you next month.